We're going to be working on struts today.
This is what a 2011 Ford Fusion strut looks like. This is full assembly.
The way how we could tell if your struts are bad is simply just go up and make the front end bob up and down. This car is the sports style. Sports will always hug the road a little bit closer and have a little bit stiffer suspension. That's just the way they are. Let's see what it sounds like when we try to turn the wheel. Let's hotbox the garage. Ah! Try to listen as I turn the steering wheel. You can hear the sound in the front end. Imagine what that's like after being on the road on a hot day. Make sure you open your garage door when having the engine running. Or like you just feel like doing a case of Insta-Death. How about this nasty Susan? You're probably like, well, how do you know it's the struts and not like the ball joints, for example? Trust me, bro.
It's the struts, man. Trust me.
Where the noise is coming from is right under here where this is seated together. This plate is stationary with the body. This will all twist. Right there is the culprit.
Ah, damn it! Let's get her on jacked up, get the tire off, and go from there.
Wouldn't be a bad idea to open up the garage door and give yourself some real sunlight. Just remember, boys, don't put in your tools where she parks at. It's home, be like,
well, Daddy Jack, my parking spot. Yeah, your stuff is in the way. Yeah, keep it stuff.
And the next thing you know, dinner's ruined. Get these lug nuts off is a 3/4, but do beware that most modern cars have these stupid things with, they're like weather caps, but it's a little cap that slides over the lug nut itself from the factory. Be aware that you make sure you get your socket on all the way. When doing this, try to be calm and collected. Do not let anger get the best of you.
You freaking fat god!
Alright, so great news. Ended up getting the 3/4 inch lug nut off. I had it pounded on there, and wouldn't you just know it? Whoa! Gotta be aware of your surroundings, man. Oh my. Notice the jack is placed under the unibody rail. That guy right there used a lovely 2x4. Not underneath this support. We do not want to compress this upward since we are replacing the strut. This right here is a 14mm. You can also use a 9/16. 6-point, not 12. This is the clamp that holds on the lower strut. These nuts on top are 14mm. So now you got those 3 little nuts off on top and that bolt that was on the bottom, and you're like, it won't budge.
Well, it's under compression, silly. We gotta decompress the spring to get the blasted old piece of poo out of there.
Alright, a lot has happened. I made a shortcut and I will elaborate as to what I've done here. Not everyone has the convenience of having a parts store just right down the street like I do. What if you're in a rural area where there is not a parts store because you need this thing called a spring compressor? On this specific design, I will show you the cheater way. That way you do not have to go get this renter tool. Oh, and the wife came home too. Good thing I didn't make a mess in her spot. She's making dinner now. So to do this without the device, and you can perfectly do this, is you want to unbolt this guy at the very bottom. That's the bracket. Something looks like that. Not really going to get into that, what that is right now. It's just a bushing. Just undo it. To get to that bolt is a 15mm. To take that nut off, that's on that same bolt, is a 3/4. At this point you're like, this guy's going between standard and metric. Which is it? I don't care. Use what works.
He's like, well, he showed me a shortcut. Well, I'll just use what works then.
Also in this journey, you'll want to pop this guy off. This is part of that bracket that slides on him. You'll notice also in there that that is an Allen guy, the very center. I don't know the size, but you'll figure that one out. To take the nut off this tie rod is a 14mm. Slide your Allen inside that head to hold this bolt still, and you're good to go.
Wait a minute, and what else is that?
Another thing that you will have to do in order to do this is you'll have to remove the upper ball joint from this guy. It is a 17 millimeter. Also note, be gentle when jerking this around. We don't want anything to get damaged, such as this.
Well, what is this? Explain.
Nope, don't care, different video. You'll notice how there is a little notch. Make sure this little notch lines up right there in between that wishbone looking bracket guy. Alright, so what we're going to do, first put those nuts on top to hold her in place. Then you want to put this guy on, that way it looks something like that. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put the bolt in the bottom here. Alright, so I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what I'm doing, so I had to get
Hi.
Daddy's little helper. What you'll use is a jack here, push this whole up in place. That way you can get this upper ball joint to go in. Isn't that right, kiddo? Then you just line this little sway bar link in there. That's right, they are heavy. It's made for impact. Let's say that you're having hard times getting this nut on because that bolt in there inside the upper ball joint is spinning. Use one of these. That'll really make your life easier as you're twisting on the nut. Here we are, going for a stroll through the neighborhood with the new struts on. The steering is way more giving. It's not as binding as it was before. Extremely quiet. Listen for it. Significantly quieter than what it was before, and that was our problem. Say it.
If you like, subscribe more videos.